Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, Jan Michael here. About a year ago, I made a super early 2024 Oscars predictions where I tried to predict what I thought was going to get into Best Picture. It was a sort of alternative to doing a most anticipated of the year list, and going back to see that video, it turns out I didn't do too bad. Sure, not all of my picks got into Best Picture, but a lot of them were Oscar nominees, ended up being Oscar nominees. Out of all 10, only 3 did end up making into the Academy Awards. One, because it got pushed back to next year. One was in the talks and probably was on the cusp of getting a nomination. It just ultimately didn't happen. And the third was a complete and total bust. But hey, that's not too bad. So I thought I'd do the same thing again today. These are my super early 2025 Oscar predictions for Best Picture. Now, again, we are only going to be going in alphabetical order to kind of just give you a taste of what it is that I think could get nominated and also what I'm very excited to see this year. Dune, Part 2. Yes, we're starting off my list with the pick that I had last year that ultimately got pushed back to this year. And honestly, why wouldn't I predict Dune Part 2? The first installment was a huge Oscar player, getting tons of nominations, tons of wins, especially in the technical categories. So of course, I'm gonna make my predictions for it to also be getting into those exact same categories. And if this ends up being a more refined picture, if that's even possible, from the last one, then I don't see why they wouldn't finally put Denis Villeneuve in the director nominations. Though I will mention that it has been confirmed that this is now a trilogy, so kind of like I say with Lord of the Rings and the animated Spider-Man films, maybe they look at this kind of middle installment as not the film to really honor the entire way through. Maybe they'll want to wait until that third installment to really give it this kind of legacy win, honoring the entirety of the trilogy. And I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, if it's a great film, it's a great film. You should just go ahead and, give it some wins for that. But regardless, I'm very much looking forward to this one. And of course, I'm sure many people out there will also be predicting it for many awards. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I'm super excited to get back into the world of Mad Max with this prequel following the story of Furiosa, who I think most of us can agree was probably the best character of the last Mad Max film. And now, since it is going to be just focusing on her, obviously Max really isn't going to be a prevalent character in the film, but I mean, that almost kind of was the case the last time around, and that didn't hurt that movie at all, so that's it. Now, because this is also a younger Furiosa, we are getting a recast. It is now Anya Taylor-Joy in the role, which, Anya Taylor-Joy to Charlize Theron, yeah, that's not a bad pick. Honestly, I just really like going into this world, seeing the visuals, seeing exactly what they do with the characters, the action scenes, everything about the last one was so spectacular. It's just one of those rare action films that blew up at the Oscars, winning a ton of awards, I think the most out of that night, and just kind of falling short of the director and picture circle. So I'm hoping we get another one of those explosive entries into the Oscars, but even if it isn't that type of film, I mean, just visually, it's gonna get some tech nominations. So I'm very confident in it getting some nominations, and of course, as is the theme of the video, I'm very excited to go check it out. Joker. Fully adieu. Did I pronounce that right? I hope I did. But anyway, like the first Joker, Todd Phillips. I think we were all surprised in what he managed to accomplish with that film. Because let's be honest, Todd doesn't always make the greatest films. Like, he has some good ones, I guess, but I think a lot of them are not so great. So we saw him making a Joker film. We thought, okay, maybe this might be enjoyable and nothing more. But to be an Oscar contender, look, I'm not saying that movie is fantastically amazing, but just the elements that it did were so well done, you couldn't deny it getting Oscar nominations. And now you got the sequel. And respect, they could have just made it a straight up sequel, introducing just a new character, in this case Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga, which I do think is an interesting casting choice. But they decided to also make it a musical. Like, how did Warner Bros. Sign off on that? Yeah, sure, make Batman Joker character a musical. I am very interested to go see it now just because of that. And all of a sudden, the Lady Gaga Harley Quinn character makes a lot more sense. You're gonna make it a musical. Yeah, you're gonna want to place people in there that can sing. Regardless, I do think we have the potential for this to be another strong Oscar contender. Is it going to do as well as the last one? I don't know. These are predictions. I'm excited. It's on the list. Kinds of Kindness. Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone are right in the middle of an Oscar push for their film, Poor Things. But did you know that they have another film that they've already actually completed filming called Kinds of Kindness? This is going to be a anthology film, which kind of makes this the most riskiest of the picks to put on here because anthology films don't typically get into the Oscars. But hey, Yorgos has already proven himself twice to be a huge Oscar darling, so even if it doesn't end up being that best picture contender, I think at least we're gonna get some tech categories in here. Maybe writing? Look, I'll keep my fingers crossed, but it's Yorgos. I'm excited to see it, especially teaming up with Emma Stone again. The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. What's up with these titles and their difficult to pronounce names? Hopefully I said that right as well. And I know you're probably thinking, another Lord of the Rings. Are you fucking serious, dude? Well, I was thinking the same thing until I found out that this was an animated film. An animated Lord of the Rings film, eh?
Enough. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
I mean, it can't be any worse than that, right? No, truthfully, I do have some soft spot for the Rankin Bass cartoon, but regardless, I think we are prime ready for an epic animated Lord of the Rings tale. I don't really know too much about Lord of the Rings lore. I've seen the films, but I'm not a huge nerd for it, but I gotta admit, I am very excited to go back into this world. I think it's prime for video games, I think it's prime for alternate stories being told in this world, and so, I think it is very prime for an animated epic. And since I like to at least throw one animated film on my predictions list each year, this is the one that is going to be on mine. Hopefully, it gets nominated for animated film, and if it does amazing, why not give it Best Picture as well? Megalopolis. Francis Ford Coppola is back after 10 plus years of silence and a huge cast to boot. This is not going to be an indie film. This is going all out to be a huge epic tale. Sign me the hell up, dude. Especially because I've already heard talks about the production being very similar to Apocalypse Now, where the budget just keeps expanding and it starts to get more crazier, and how can you not be excited? I mean, have you seen that cast lineup? I'm ready. I'm ready for another film to really bring Francis back up into the limelight and just herald him as just this talented filmmaker. It's been a long time since we've done so. His daughter has had the limelight for some time now. I think it's ready, and we're ready for him to come back and really show what he can do. So I'm really hoping this doesn't end up being a dud, because that would be a seriously huge disappointment. Mickey 17. Bong Joon Ho is back, baby, and I'm so ready for this new film. His last one, Parasite, made history by being the first international film to win Best Picture. So I think we're already and collectively paying attention to what it is he's gonna do next. And I gotta admit that this next one, I think, is more akin to his Snowpiercer film than something like Parasite. This is about a clone, if I understand correctly, who is set off to colonize Niflheim. Interesting. And the clone then dies, and then the next clone goes in. He has some of the memories from the past clone. Look, it's out there, okay? So maybe this might not be the Oscar contender we think it's gonna be, but regardless, I'm still fucking excited for it. I still think a lot of the Oscar people are gonna be keeping an eye on it, and you know, sometimes the far out films still get into the Oscars. I look at Everything Everywhere All at Once. Sometimes you just get those fantastic picks from this organization, and I'm all for it. The Movie Critic. Quentin Tarantino's final film is currently slated to come out this year, and I'm gonna be so depressed when it does. my favorite filmmaker. I'm gonna be so sad when I know he's not gonna be making any more movies that I can look forward to. But I'm also really goddamn excited to see how he goes out. Is it gonna be on a high note? I mean, look at the track record. I think we're safe that it's gonna be going out on a high note. And maybe we finally see him take home the Oscar for Best Picture. At the very least, Best Director, come on now. And his last film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, was a huge Oscar contender. Heck, some people thought it was going to win all the way up to the very end. As a cool little side note, I like that the last time his film was a huge Oscar contender with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was also the year that we got Parasite. So are we going to see another big battle between Quentin and Bong? Who knows? Sometimes history repeats itself like that, and that makes me very, very excited. Nosferatu. Robert Edgars can do no wrong. He's had 3 excellent films with The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. None of which were really Oscar contenders. I mean, only really The Lighthouse was, and I think it only got nominated for 1, so maybe this is the riskiest move I can put in my predictions. But it's Nosferatu. I mean, it's at least gotta be in contention for, like, makeup and hairstyling, right? Although, if it is a full-on horror film, maybe with the bias that the Oscars have, they just don't nominate it. And no, it's on the list. It's on the list. Sing Sing. The final film on my predictions is Sing Sing, which I've been hearing a lot of really good stuff about for a while now. It got its premiere at one of the film festivals a few months ago, and everyone who's seen it has said how amazing it is, that it's been making them cry, that the Colman Domingo performance is fucking amazing. Now, Colman is currently in competition for Best Lead Actor for the film Rustin, and anybody who's seen the film Rustin and his performance there and the performance for Sing Sing have said that the two don't compare. Like, the Sing Sing one is just so much superior, and he is definitely going to get nominated for next year, they say. So yes, why would I not be excited about that? A film that's making people cry, a performance that people are saying is just a shoo-in to win. Of course I'm going to be excited, and of course I'm going to predict it. And that's what I have for my super early 2025 Oscar predictions. Now, for those of you who are wondering, okay, you've listed them, but what order would you rank them in? Well, first, I am going to be a little biased because it's going to be based on how excited I am for it. But if you want to see that ranking, there it is. Yeah, take a good look. But let me know what you think, because truthfully, I think this list could have easily been a 20-plus predictions list. There's so many movies that I think could be in competition for not only Best Picture, but just for an Oscar in general. And heck, if this last year proved anything, is that even the great films sometimes don't get that nomination. It's just so stacked sometimes. But I'm looking forward to these movies. I'm definitely going to be checking them out. What are you guys going to be checking out? And what are your super early 2025 predictions? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, stay safe out there and have a good one.